Hello and welcome to Longship Gaming. Well, it's the happiest time of the year again. It is a new set release for Star Wars Unlimited. This time it's Legends of the Force, focusing primarily on Force users, Sith, Jedi, Fallen Jedi, all sorts of Force trickery, or characters that are resistant to the Force maybe. Now this time around, this set got spoiled very early, so it allowed me to be able to do some test games on Force Table with the draft and sealed, but of course this video is mostly about draft, to get a better idea of the capabilities of the leaders by running through some practices and seeing what worked and what didn't. So usually my videos focus on my first impressions without actually having time to have played these with the new cards and the new leaders. This time around, however, I've had a little more practice, and it enabled me to have a little more nuance or a longer think about the capabilities of certain cards and certain leaders in the set. So, by way of introduction, I mean, that sort of was an introduction. We're going to do another one. The usual preamble I do at the start of these videos. So this is an analysis of the limited environment for Legends of the Force. It does not correspond to sealed. Why do I feel confident about my ratings? Well, I've done lots and lots of drafts weekly for the past year and a half since the release of the game. Largely played out of my friendly local game store, Face-to-Face Games, but also 401 Games, so I want to give them a shout out. There's always been a best of three, and the competition within the draft realm, because there are quite a few dedicated drafters in the GTA, competition is very fierce. I am not a professional at this at all. I'm just a very motivated casual. And I will say I had a very successful jump to light speed experience, an overwhelmingly winning record, mostly 2-1s, couple 3-0s, only 1 and 2 throughout the entire set when I was drafting. So I think I've got a real handle. I mean, it took about a year of grinding out how to play limited effectively in this game, but I feel fairly confident. I did really well in jump to light speed, as opposed to Twilight, which was I did not do very well in. But I think that I've got a good handle on draft in Star Wars Unlimited in general. Will Legends of the Force be just as good or better? I really hope that it will be. So, draft basics, as by way of introduction, if you're not familiar with playing in a limited environment for Star Wars Unlimited. Now, I've included this before. This was a methodology for drafting that was introduced very early on in the life of the game, called Baron. So you prioritize bombs, ambush, removal, opening, and then nice to haves. I don't know necessarily if this particular scheme or guide towards drafting is so viable anymore. It's very rigid. Bombs are going to be far and few between. Of course, usually they're going to be your legendaries or rares in a set, which of course you cannot count on. And some of them in the set, and in most Star Wars sets, are not overwhelmingly powerful. A small subset of them are, so it's unlikely you're going to see them. Ambush is important, but because of the way that the numbers line up, it's not like, say, First Strike or Flying or anything like that in Magic, to use an example, where you want to have that sort of evasion or ability to overpower your opponent. These cards are relatively rare. They sort of work at the same ambush with removal, so basically ambush is just removal on a stick. Removal in some sets is very low, and I've noticed in Legend of the Force there aren't that many, and they are generally expensive. So it's really going to come down to unit combat. Opening, of course, well, yeah, I mean, you should be drafting, looking at having, at least 8 first turn plays in your 30 card deck. But even that has some wiggle room depending on what you're playing. And nice to haves are just everything that's left over. So I'm not going to go into huge depth on this. You may hear Baron as the be all and end all of drafting for this. I don't really believe that anymore. I think that drafting in Star Wars Unlimited is far more nuanced than Magic, and it largely comes down to the kinds of leaders that you're drafting within the pod. So one thing you should always be aware of is not only what you have drafted of your leader, the ones that you want to play, or the ones you feel more comfortable with, or the ones that you are well stuck with and have the best of some bad options, is to be aware of the other leaders in the pod, because that will determine what you'll be drafting or trying to work towards. I strongly suggest limiting your aspects during the leader draft. If your first two are going to be villainy, and you know what might be coming down the pipe, you can safely ignore usually the heroic. So best 2 out of 3 when you're drafting, you're usually going to go towards villainy, well, whichever aspect that you're strongest in when you were actually drafting these leaders. Now, I tend to draft towards the highest percentage chance of getting playable cards for the leaders that I have that will guide me. It is very rare that I get such a strong leader passed to me by leader number 3 that I would have to completely switch. People usually lock in pretty early with the leaders that they want to play. You just need to be aware of who you're competing with in your pod. I almost always have locked in by the middle of the first pack. It is extremely rare that I will ever deviate or try to pivot by pack 2 unless something is overwhelmingly strong. No splashing. Now, I know that in this game you can resource cards that you normally would not play, so things that are out of aspect. I don't think it's worth it. I think it's better to have actual options in playable colors than to risk watering down your deck with cards that you simply will not be able to play, because no guarantee you're going to be able to get those cards in the hand when you need them to be able to resource them. And no splash when it comes to out of aspect cards unless they are extremely strong, and to be quite honest, there haven't been any of those since the first set. So I have a very simple rating system for these. I don't use the tier list like a lot of channels do. I basically have rated 1, the best, the kind of card that you are going to draft or pick before anything else. And this is applying mostly to the individual units and events and so on. You're going to be drafting, not so much the leaders. Rated 1 is always going to be the best. Well, that applies to leaders as well, but not in terms of when you're choosing them. That you would take over a mediocre rare or even bad rare or legendary, unless you need to fill in some gaps or you're value drafting or whatever. They will rated 1s are the ones you're always going to want to take as pack 1, pick 1. 2s are playables. That's just the bulk of filling out your decks. These are perfectly serviceable, can work in the right situations. They're not overwhelmingly powerful. They are a straight 50-50 shot to winning your games. And 3, absolutely avoid these unless you have no choice. And we all know, we've been there. Sometimes you have no choice to be able to fill out your deck by taking substandard cards. So we're first going to look at the leaders, and I do this by looking at the common leaders first and then the rare leaders. So common leaders, we're starting with Mother Talzin. She is a 3/7, comes out on 5. She has an action to use the Force, give a unit -1/-1 for this phase. And on her leader side, her unit side, on attack, you may give a unit -1/-1 for this phase. So ideally, you're able to give something just with Mother Talzin alone, -2/-2. She's extremely survivable with 7 health, and is very likely to be able to trigger her attack several times before she's taken out. -1/-1 seems really inconsequential, but can be surprisingly effective. So in my testing, I originally had her, or before testing extensively, I had her at a rank 2. I was sort of like, she's all right. She's a bit dull. She's not really that exciting of a leader. But then I realized that sometimes there's real strength in that kind of simplicity. And also there are plenty of really good blue villainy cards in this set. In fact, she, of all the villainy leaders, I think is the top tier, save for maybe one, and I'll get to them later on. I think she's going to be extremely effective. She's messing with the math there with the -1/-1 is not insignificant, and especially when it triggers on her attack and she's attacking something to give something -1/-1 to increase her own survivability. She has a lot of great support cards in the colors that she wants to play. So I really think, in what I've played so far, she is going to be the top tier leader, and it's great that she's a common. The next one up, so we have Ahsoka. A 5/6 coming out at 6. She has on her leader side an action, use the Force, give a friendly unit Sentinel for this phase. Okay, sure. And on her unit side, she's on attack, you may give a friendly unit Sentinel for this phase. So, I mean, that's fine. This is the very definition, in my opinion, of a rated 2 leader. I mean, it's a really kind of dull ability. But 5 power is pretty good. I haven't been too impressed when playing her, but she is going to be playing defensively, and blue heroic, you have access to a lot of great cards. So I think she's very much middle of the road. Not terrible, but not great. Supreme Leader Snoke. So on his leader side, he's got an action, 1, an exhaust, give an experience token to a unit with the most power among friendly villainy units. And on his leader side, when he comes out on 6, he's a 4/7, which is pretty survivable. On attack, give an experience token to the unit with the most power among friendly villainy units. So I really do think, and very thematic, right? He's always building up the most powerful, very Sith way of doing things. He's going to consistently bump something up. So what I found in testing with him is, if you can get one, even early in the game, and you have the resource to do it, you can continually pump up some unit until they just last the entire game and become almost impossible to remove. And if they're removed early, you can just keep putting them on something else. Yes, it costs 1 to put that experience, and it's targeted to the unit that has the most power among villainy only. But it's very unlikely you're really going to get... I didn't find I was ever lacking when I was drafting anything that wasn't villainy to use with him. That's the one thing, of course, you have to make sure, is that you have enough villainy units to support him. There's very little removal in the set, so I think if your opponent has not drafted at least some of it, I'm thinking like Shatterpoint really is it. He can really allow one unit, or possibly even himself, to get completely out of control. Common leader, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Again, this is a rank 1. And I'll bring this up again near the end of the video, but Command Vigilance Heroic is extraordinarily powerful in this set. He's got a very, much like Ahsoka, very simple. As an action, use the Force, give an experience token to a unit without an experience token on it. And then on his leader side, of course, he comes out on 5, and he's a 3/6, which is great. The stat line not so much, but coming on a 5, I always like leaders who can come out earlier. You may give an experience token to another unit without an experience token on it. So he can never give them to himself, but he can give them to something else. And I found this is extremely easy to pull off. There are, in this set, a lot of high health first or second turn, or even first turn. But we really only care here about second turn when we have the force available to us to do it, which again is not hard. There are so many great low cost force enabled or force traded units that you can have that all the time, bump them up, play another one after that, bump them up. It can be really solid. It really messes with the math overall. I think he's a great thematic sort of, I know they never matter or anything, but an excellent sort of counterpoint to how Snoke plays. Going wide with this ability, and of course costing less with a limitation, but it is not limited to only heroic, so you can play it on any kind of generic unit of any color that you're pairing him with. But I think that he is top tier in the set for sure. All right, third sister. On her leader side, as an action, play a unit from your hand. It gains hidden for this phase. She comes out on 5 as well. She's a 5/4. Comes out hidden, which is great. And on her attack, the next unit you play this phase gains hidden. So, oh, pardon me. I don't know if hidden is really a good enough mechanic to build a leader around. In fact, in my testing with drafting and sealed so far, hidden doesn't really feel all that impactful. There are few times when I was playing when I felt that, oh, I really want to attack that hidden unit over there. Oh no, I'm forced to attack the base, or I'm forced to attack a different unit. Oh well. I'm not entirely sure if hidden really makes the grade as a core mechanic for this set. I mean, at least she'll get a strong attack in on her flip turn, but she's extremely squishy. So I feel like you have to pair her with, like, if you get one of the lightsabers, or there's a blue card that gives you basically +2 to your hit points. I mean, on her turn, when she flips, she comes in hidden. She can't be attacked. Then you can wait a bit when you can sort of load her up with upgrades, and then be more effective when you're attacking with her. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm until we see more of how hidden behaves in a real life limited environment, I'm not entirely convinced. She's not terrible, but she's not great. Finishing off maybe, I don't think, with Kit Fisto. Pardon me. I'm giving him a 3. Poor Kit. I mean, he got slaughtered in the movies. Oh, spoiler alert. And I'm not really a big fan of his ability here in limited, at least. So as an action on his leader side, costs 1. If you attack with a Jedi, this phase deal 2 damage to a unit. On his unit side, he's a 1/6 with Saboteur and gets +1 for each other friendly Jedi unit. I don't think he's all that terrible, potentially, on his leader side, but his unit side, it's not going to work. He's not going to survive. He will not hit hard enough, and you will not have enough Jedi on the board in limited to really push his damage. I mean, there could be a world in which you have drafted so heavily into Jedi in red and, let's say, I don't know, green maybe, that you just have so many to be able to work with, but you have to be very lucky to be able to leverage that. The most he's probably ever going to get is like to a 2/6 maybe, but he's not a threat at all. And your opponent could focus on picking off other Jedi that are probably more powerful than him. Like, think of it this way. If you're playing in green, you have Gungi. Gungi's a 2/5. He's basically the same as Kit Fisto. So, I'm not seeing it. That's why I gave him a 3. I'm probably never going to draft him. Grand Inquisitor. So as an action, use the force token, attack with a friendly unit. This defender gets -2 for this attack. Now he comes in on 5 as well, which is okay. He's also shielded, which is great. And on his attack, the defender gets -2 for this attack, and that's only with him. So -2 is okay to play with the math. He's shielded, he flips early, but yet again, he's one of those, I feel like the set made some of the leaders kind of weak in the expectation that there are some common sabers that you can give them. And he feels sort of like definitely below the grade of what he could be. I mean, the shielded plus the on attack is not going to matter if it's a -2 and you're only reducing, and the one you're attacking is a 3 power. You're still going to lose the shield when you're attacking. So I don't know. He could be better in practice or worse in practice, but so far I really haven't found anything with him in the limited environment that would make me want to play him. Again, not terrible, so that's why I put him at 2, but yeah, just fine. Cal Kestis, I'm giving him a 2. Originally, I gave him a higher rating. As an action, he can use the force. An opponent chooses a ready unit they control, exhaust that unit, which is great if your opponent only has 1. And he comes out on 4, which is pretty strong. He's a 3/4, but he just won't last. He gets taken out by pretty much anything on the turn that he basically flips. On attack, an opponent chooses a ready unit they control, exhaust that unit. So, he's very much a control leader. Is he good enough in this set where unit combat is everything? Likely not to survive on a slip turn. If you can somehow find a way to make him survive, though you would have to have sentinels around him. But still, 4 is very, very weak. It doesn't take much to take him out. So I don't know. We'll see. He could be even worse than that, but yeah, he's definitely no rank 1. He's very much in the middle. So then moving on to our rare leaders. So Kylo Ren, I'm giving him a 3. For numerous reasons. This, to me, is not and it's a good thing he's a rare because he is not a limited leader. He is not a draft leader. As an action, discard a card from your hand. If you discarded an upgrade this way, draw a card. Okay, well, first of all, I'm not liking that because you only have 30 cards generally when you're playing limited, so you don't want to burn through your deck. Another strike against him, he comes out on 7. And we all know that late flipping leaders always have an issue. And his stat line's only is only a 5/5. Sure, he has Sentinel, but big deal. When deployed, play any number of upgrades from your discard pile on this unit, one at a time, paying their costs. Okay, so now you have a bit of card advantage, but you have to basically draft in this set specifically to enable his flip turn. And then you're not really doing anything else. There are only 6 upgrades in the colors that he can play in this set. And I feel like if the upgrades were discounted, he would be better in limited. So he might be perfectly functional in constructed, but from a limited perspective, I would not touch him. Kanan Jarrus, I'm giving him a 2. So his action is spend 1, give a shield token to a creature or specter unit, so luckily it does not consume your force token. Comes out on 6, he's a 3/6 shielded, and while you control another creature or specter unit, this unit gets +2/+2. So I went through and looked, there are 20 creatures that he can play in heroic or generic or in his color in this set. That's a lot. My issue, though, is that cost to put a shield token on something, especially when it's limited to a creature or specter. So, for example, there is only one specter, and that is Ezra. So it's only going to work on creatures. So you have to basically draft almost all creatures. At least you don't have to worry about force. That's great. And some of the creatures in the set are really good, but very limited. So I think really for me is the cost of his action that brings him down to a 2 rating. Leader side's very strong when he meets the conditions. So I look forward to actually drafting him. Again, he's a rare, so he's not always going to get to show up in your draft, nor is he probably, or maybe he won't even get past you. But I think he has a lot more utility compared to the severe limitation that there is on Kylo Ren with upgrades. I think Kanan just has a lot more really good creature targets in this set. And that's only, I'm only talking about 20 creatures in the common and uncommon slots. I'm not even talking about the ones that are in rares and legendaries. Morgan Elsbeth, as an action, choose a friendly unit that attack this phase. Play a unit from your hand that shares a keyword with the chosen unit. It costs 1 less. Huh. Okay. I like anything that discounts. That's great. She's Force, Imperial, and Knight, so interesting. If you control 5 or more resources, deploy this leader. And then she's a 3/6. So on attack, the next unit you play this phase costs 1 less if it shares a keyword. So I went through and looked at the keywords that are playable in her colors. So there are equal numbers of Ambush, Hidden, Overwhelm, Raid, Restore in this set. But it makes her a very focused draft. You're going to want to go all in on Ambush or Hidden or Overwhelm or Raid or Restore. Notice that there are, what did I not mention in there? Was there one? I'm pulling a complete blank now. Oh, Shielded. There are very few Shielded, so you're not going to be getting that. But you could build around that, and I think building around, there's lots of good Raid, I think, in Cunning. There are quite a few good Restore ones. Hidden's more likely, I would say, playing in Imperial, but we'll see. Overwhelm, I wouldn't bother with it. Never. It's okay, but it's not great. But anything to discount cards, and again, doesn't require the Force token. So she has an early flip with some great survivability. I may be wrong about her. She may actually be way better than I thought. But you really have to focus your draft towards one of those specific keywords. 1 or 2, but probably just 1 to get the most you can out of her ability. Avar Chris, well, she's a 3. I mean, this really shouldn't be too much of a surprise. As an action, the Force is with you. Okay, great. But she flips on 9. The earliest she could flip, unless you were extremely lucky, is almost all the time going to be on 8. She is insane when she does flip. She's a 4/10, and while you have the Force with you, she gets +4 and Overwhelm. Whew, very strong, but way, way, way too late. I doubt very much you're ever really going to be getting her out on turn 6. She is unlikely to flip until turn 7, and that's way, way, way too late. Might be good to always have the Force, but she'll never really hit the field. The game will be over before then, in a limited environment. Rey, I've given her a 3 as well. She flips on 7. She's a 6/8, which is very strong. If you played a non-unit Force card this phase, deal 1 damage to a unit. There are not that many non-unit Force cards in the limited environment for that ability to matter at all. And in one deployed, you may discard your hand if you do draw 2 cards. Okay, sure. I would assume that you're already running low on cards and basically played everything by that point, and you just want to, refill your hand, but you're not really going to be able to use them that turn. Use those cards that turn. I don't know. I don't get this one. I mean, I really don't. I don't see where she fits, and she certainly does not fit in a limited environment. So here's the one that I think is a bit of a dark horse in this set, and that's Barris Offee. So as an action, use the Force. Play an event from your hand that costs 1 less. She comes out on 6. She's a 4/7, which is pretty strong. And as an action, use the Force. Play an event from your hand that costs 1 less. There are some really good Force events, or events in general in this set. And I love discounting things. The impactful events are across all aspects. And I admit that I may be going off of vibes here, but I really look forward to being able to try her in a draft. It would be very interesting to play a more focused event style deck. I actually want to play her in Constructed. I think that there's something to her that makes me intrigued about her potential power level. But we will see. She may be terrible. I don't know. I just hope I get a chance to actually draft her in a real game. So now we have we're getting down to the last two, and these are both. I mean, there shouldn't really be any surprise to these. These are going to be ranked 3s. No matter how cool or interesting Darth Revan and our next one look, do not draft these. You will lose. So Revan is villainy only. When a friendly unit attacks and defeats a unit, you may exhaust this leader. If you do, give an experience token to that friendly unit. My God, that sounds fantastic. Flips on 5 is a 3/6 with Restore 1. When a friendly unit attacks and defeats a unit, you may give an experience token to that friendly unit. My goodness. Like, great stuff. If it weren't for the fact he was only a single aspect. So when you pair that with your base, you have 2 aspects. There is no way that you're going to be able to draft only in one color, and to be honest, even if you somehow manage to do that and have a 30 card deck, your cards will be of extremely low quality. So do not draft, you will lose. And the same applies to Anakin. Use the Force, play a villainy non-unit card from your hand, ignoring its aspect penalties. So here's the problem. You could say that you would alleviate the problem of only being in heroic and being able to play villainy cards. It's non-unit. There aren't very many that are worth giving up an entire aspect for or paying too much tax on. He's a 4/6 on 5. That's fine. And he has the same ability. Action, use the Force. Not on attack, just use that as an action. Using the Force, play, again, a villainy non-unit card from your hand, ignoring its aspect penalties. So again, do not draft, you will lose. Clearly not intended for limited. Seriously, just don't do it. Alright, so now let's talk about the commons and uncommons of this set. So, should have prefaced, of course, that this video has nothing to do with the legendaries or the rares. Generally, you're going to be drafting these either for value, or you need them for a deck, or just because they are really powerful bombs that you want to put in your deck. So we're going to focus on just the commons and uncommons, which are going to be the bread and butter of what you're seeing. So, for our rank 1, our best of the best vigilance, commons and uncommons, we have Talzin's Assassin, Drain Essence, Lothwolf, Ezra Bridger, and Owen Lars. So, why these ones in particular? Talzin's Assassin is a 4/4 for 4. When played, you may use the Force, lose your Force token. If you do, give a unit -3/-3 for this phase. Just kill something automatically when it comes in. It's fantastic. Or at least weaken something significantly so something else can finish it off. But you know, anything that comes into play and automatically has an effect on the board is worth playing. Drain Essence, deal 2 damage to a unit. The Force is with you. So as an early sort of tempo swing to gain the force without having to have a unit attack or a force unit attack is pretty strong. There aren't too many cards in the set that are just straight up removal or just direct damage, but this is certainly one of the more powerful ones. And it's thematically it's in villainy. If you're playing in blue villainy, 100% I would draft this card right away. Lothwolf, a 3/3 for 2, and it's a sentinel, but it can't attack. Okay, that's fine. 3/3 for 2 is very strong, regardless, and it will help to protect you in the early game for sure. The only downside, of course, is just a creature and doesn't have force, but yeah, probably one of the most important 2-drops in the limited environment. Ezra Bridger, Forest Jedi Rebel Spectre. He's a 3/5 for 3, which is pretty good rate. On attack, you may give an experience token to another creature or Spectre unit. So when I mentioned before with Kanan, there are 20 common and uncommon creatures in heroic colors, especially in Vigilance. So if you're already playing him, or you know that you're going to end up with a fair number of creatures like this Lothwolf over here, Ezra is just pretty good. I mean, he enables force, and he does have the Jedi keyword, which is important for this set when it comes to equipping him with lightsabers and so on. But the added benefit of putting experience on a creature is very strong. And Owen Lars, 1 cost, 0/3, restore 2, very strong for such an early card. When defeated, search top 5 cards of your deck for a force unit, reveal it, and draw it. One of the better tutor effects in the game so far. Very thematic and important, but just in basic Vigilance for 1 cost, very strong. Also in our rank 1 for Vigilance, we have the Night Sister Warrior, the Secretive Sage, Watto, and Chirrut Imwe. So, Night Sister Warrior, 2/2 for 2. Again, just in generic Vigilance. Force, important. When defeated, draw a card. These are such a simply designed card, but it makes a lot of sense. Get that out turn 1, you have a Force Enabler. When defeated, actually gains you something. Secretive Sage is going to be one of those stalwarts in the way that Crafty Smuggler was so long ago, and this is just in generic Vigilance, and it's a 2/2 for 2, but it is shielded and has force, so unbelievably potent and important in this set. Watto, a 3-cost 1/6, so very hard to remove. On attack, an opponent chooses one. You give an experience token to a friendly unit. You draw a card. Neither of these choices are something that your opponent is going to want to make. They are both of such great benefit to you. And Chirrut, a 3/5 for 4 in generic blue, a Sentinel. And when this unit is attacked, you can lose your force token and the attacker gets -2. So, as testing has shown with this set, it is very easy to get and maintain having the force token on your base. And Chirrut just, he will be such a pain for your opponent to deal with. He gets you the force back, and he completely blunts one of their attacks. So rank 1 for command, 8th Brother, Gungi, Jedi Consular, Jedi Temple Guards, and Niman Strike. 8th Brother, expensive, comes in 6 with 5/7, but with ambush, and there aren't that many really good ambushers in the set without conditions. When you play another unit, you may use the Force. If you do, give a unit +2/+2 for this phase. So he just has to be on the board, and he's survivable as a 5/7. So you play any other unit to put +2/+2 on any other unit, including himself. That's really strong, and could, under some circumstances, happen multiple times in the same turn. Gungi, probably one of the best uncommons in this set. A 2/5 for 2, which is a remarkable rate in Command Heroic. Force Jedi, which are, of course, important. But he's going to be your enabler if you are in command heroic. Being able to get him out early, or getting him out early in the game, sets you up for a great advantage for the rest of it. Jedi Consular, similar in some ways to Gungi, although probably not as good. A 2-cost 1/4, so again, Force Jedi is not irrelevant. As an action, use the Force, play a unit from your hand that costs 2 less. So, very strong secondary ability if you can leverage it, but even if of course he has to have the Force to be able to use it, or to use that as an ability, so he's not going to get it right away. He actually is not too bad of a mid or late game card. Again, he's no Gungi. He's no Gungi, but he's not all that terrible. But I still think I would tend to draft him above a mediocre, rare, or legendary. Jedi Temple Guards. This is going to be seen all the time when you're playing just in generic command. 2/4 is not a great rate, but it is ambush and restore at the same time. So sometimes sacrificing the Jedi Temple Guards into something is absolutely worth it just for that restore. And Nemon Strike, as an event, attack with a Force unit. Even if it's exhausted, it gets +1, and can't attack bases for this attack. That's a really cheap rate to be able to play, or to get a Force unit to attack even when it's normally not able to. Not being on attack basis, big deal. You can still take something off the board, so you could technically 2-for-1 something that way. I really only have one card in Aggression for rank 1, and that is Ataru Onslaught. Ready a Force unit with 4 or less power. Aggression kind of surprised me about how I didn't feel there was anything at the common or uncommon level that was really stood out, and this as an event is pretty much the only one. It's thematically great. I mean, it's fantastic that you're able to get that attack in with very little when it comes to any kind of qualifier. It has to be a Force unit and 4 or less power. But when you're playing this as a 2-cost event, that's actually not bad. Cunning, pretty good for our rank 1s. Aura Sing is not only going to be great in limited, I have a feeling that she is going to be fantastic. A lot of people commented how good she's going to be in constructed as well. A 1/4 for 2 with Hidden and Raid 2 is nothing to sneeze at. Now, Underworld and Bounty Hunter don't mean anything in this set, but still, being able to hit way above her weight and have that kind of survivability is very important. Shinhati, a 4/2 for 3, comes in Hidden and has Shielded. So basically, she can come in and she can sort of wait and then pick her target on her following turn. And Balin Skull, 5/5 for 5, also Hidden. When played, you may use the Force. If you do, return a non-leader unit that costs 4 or less to its owner's hand. Then its owners may play that for free. So yeah, that's pretty good and pairs very well with Shinhati. Getting the ability to replay something like that, especially if it's already activated or has been damaged, is fantastic. Youngling Padawan, this one's a Cunning Heroic, a 2/3 for 2. When played, the Force is with you. So boom, there's your first turn Force enabler. Weaker in stats, of course, compared to some others, but it just gives you the Force, which is pretty potent. Oh, we have a cat visit, so excuse me, we must remove the cat. Goodbye. I want to say it's Deepa, could be Depa, but I'll say Deepa Balaba, a 5/7 for 6 with Ambush. Again, one of the few ambushers in the set, and with Saboteur, with Force and Jedi, which of course are relevant keywords, or sorry, not keywords, but traits to have in this set. Nothing really all special, just having any kind of ambusher is always worth it, and she's one of the stronger ones. Impossible Escape, It's a 1 cost force event. You may either exhaust a friendly unit or use the force. If you do either, exhaust the enemy unit and draw a card. So, I mean, this one may not be all that great. There aren't too many exhaust effects in this set. But, yeah, I feel very potent. Exhausting and drawing a card is pretty strong. So again, it's either you may exhaust a friendly unit or use the force. So let's say you have a Lothwolf, you're never attacking with it anyway, you can just exhaust it and get the benefit or the cost associated with this card to exhaust an enemy unit and to draw a card. And again, as we've seen, getting the force token is not all that difficult. Shin Flurry, a learned event. Play a force unit from your hand. It gains ambush. Next time it will be dealt damage this phase to prevent 2 of that damage. So, yeah, in a set, of course, with tons and tons of force, especially in common and uncommon, this is going to be extremely potent for the cost of 1. Very, very strong. Giving something ambush and then keeping it alive after it does it is excellent. Rank 1 villainy heroism. Common uncommons, there are none. They're not in this set. None of them were worth taking over a rare or a legendary, just in the single aspects. So now we're going to have a look at rank 3. So I don't think I mentioned, but I don't tend to talk about the rank 2s anymore. Basically, the rank 2s are the cards of everything outside of this list. The bread and butter of your deck's not fantastic, not bad, but certainly serviceable. These are the ones I think you should actually actively avoid, however. So Jedi Guardian, a 4/8 for 5. Seemingly the Jedi Guardian must be something that was there specifically used with Ahsoka. Sure, it has Force and Jedi as its traits, but it says while this unit is defending, it gives +2. Sure, if you could find a way to give a Sentinel like playing Ahsoka, because it is in her colors, fine. But there are very few other ways to make sure that your opponent is actually going to attack a 4/8 as opposed to your base at that point in the game. Luthen Raal, a 4/5 for 4. As much as I like Luthen as character in Andor is fantastic. On attack, search the top 5 cards of your deck for an item upgrade, reveal it, and draw it. Well, there aren't that many great items that you would actually want to do that with, unless somehow you are playing a deck that you reeve. Oh, excuse me. Where you have drafted a bunch of lightsabers or something. And it has to be an item upgrade, not just an upgrade. So it really, unfortunately, is not all that usable in this set. Not in Limited, anyway. So for command, we have Exegol Patroller, Acclimator, Assault Ship, Kadu, Overpower, and Rampage. Exegol Patroller, a 3/1 with Overwhelm. Okay, sure. You're almost always just going to be attacking a base with it anyway. And then it's going to be gone very quickly. I don't really see the value. Even under the best of circumstances, where you're able to do some damage to a base and do some damage to another ship that might be a 2. Like a 2 health or whatever, so you have 1 damage to go through to the base. The 1 health on this just does not cut it. The Acclimator, well, simply put, it's a double command, and you're not going to be playing double command in Limited, and of course it's not worth the 9 or more that it would take to bring this out. Kadu, 4/4 for 4. When played, you may give another friendly unit Overwhelm. Okay, sure. I mean, it's a creature. Its ability, when I've drafted it and had to play it, never really came into play. Much of the time, the Overwhelm isn't really going to matter. Once in a blue moon, maybe I could picture some Rube Goldberg machine of it being able to give something worthwhile overwhelm. I yeah, Rube Goldberg machine of like 2 steps. Uh, I don't know. I don't. I've never liked playing this card. It almost always gets cut if I am forced to draft it. Overpower and Rampage are very similar. I've never liked these sort of high cost events that give just flat stats for the turn. So much like Cadu giving you Overwhelm. Okay, the +3/+3. I mean, there are times I'm sure that they could be relevant or could actually be needed playing a game, but I've never wanted to draft these. They just are not effective. And Rampage is each friendly creature unit gets +2/+2 for this phase. It's very likely, again, unless you're playing blue, green, heroic, that you're going to be playing it with King and Jarrus. Very unlikely that you're going to have such a creature heavy deck that is worth it, especially at a cost of 3. I mean, there is a world, but it's a very limited world that has to be Canaan and lots of creatures. But for that to come together and it's an uncommon, no, I don't see it. Rank 3 Aggression. This may be a bit controversial for the first two. The Strike Ship, which is a 0/3 for 2 that has Raid 3 and Overwhelm. I'm willing to believe that there is a world where I'm wrong about this particular card. It could be much more potent than I think, especially in early game. But we'll have to see. I don't like that 0/3. It's too easy if you lose the initiative for your opponent to take it out with in space with no challenge whatsoever. Savage Oppress. Yet again, I feel they keep giving this guy dirty. He's a 9/6 for 6 with Overwhelm. When played, when defeated, you may use the Force. If you don't, deal 9 damage to your base. So not only do you have to have the Force to be able to play him, if he has taken out on the turn that he is basically brought out, even if you're able to pay Force to not take the damage, he is a huge risk to you because he can die. He's 6 is a lot, but if I see that my opponent doesn't have the Force token on available to him, I'm going to do everything I can to kill Savage and then basically do 9 damage to a base, which is no insignificant amount. So, I mean, I have used him in simulated drafts somewhat successfully. I just don't like how easy he is to remove while you don't have the Force. If you don't have it, oh well, he's just done. Took Ada, 4/2 for 3 with hidden. Okay, yeah, it's a creature. It's hidden. It does some damage. Okay, sure. I'm not really particularly excited by this card, even as a creature. Hidden, meh. Okay, never really seemed to matter. Too easy to take out on the turn that he does activate. Whatever he's hitting into, I mean, he could attack a base, but whatever he's hitting, he's just going to die to anyway. And Battle Fury, a upgrade that is +3/+3 for 2, but then the attached unit gains on attack, discard a card from your hand. I do not like being down cards at all in limited. It limits your options. And I don't think that +3/+3 for 2 with that drawback is really that worthy of any kind of good grade. So I'm going to give it a rank 3. I just won't draft it. Cunning. This one I'm willing to be... I may be wrong about this one as well, but he hasn't really performed when I've played him. Nile Marauder is a 1/5 for 3, but he has Raid 3. Underworld Trooper Nile, again, not Force, so I'm not all that keen on him. Hits hard enough, may not be as bad as a rank 3, might be a rank 2 I'm willing to be convinced. We'll have to see with more testing, but so far he really hasn't delivered on his promise. The J-type Nubian Starship, a 2/4 for 3 in Heroic Cunning. One played, draw a card. When defeated, discard a card from your hand. This reminds me, there was a card in Twilight, one of the ambassadors or representatives that had the same effect. I didn't like them. I don't like this. 4-speed, well, it's double cunning, so that's just right out. You're never going to be playing this. Attack of the unit, on attack, return any number of non-unique upgrades attached to the defender of their owner's hands. One, it's a useless ability. Two, it's double cunning. And force slow, give an exhausted unit -8 for the phase. For 1, okay, sure. I mean, if you're attacking into a sentinel, or you still want to put some damage onto a leader or something, I don't know. I see very little point to this card. I don't think I've ever put it into a deck, and I likely never will, even if I draft it, which I'm going to try to avoid. Precarious Predicament, which is a trick. It's a 2-cost. Return an enemy non-leader unit to its owner's hand unless its controller says it could be worse. If they do, you may play a card named It's Worse in your hand or resources for free. Interesting, it comes from resources, but it doesn't say to actually replace it, which is not very good. You would have to have both this card and It's Worse in hand to play it. Yeah, just a dreadful card in limited. Tip the Scale, a force trick, 2-cost. Look at an opponent's hand and discard a non-unit card from it. The problem here is, of course, is non-unit. Of course, in limited, you are going to be mostly playing units because that's how you're going to win the game. You don't have a lot of time or a lot of cards to mess around with playing something that's specifically event or upgrade related. So, yeah, I will probably never draft this card either. In Villainy, Heroic, and Generic, for rank 3, we have Flight of the Inquisitor. You may return a Force unit and a Lightsaber upgrade from your discard pile to your hand. Well, okay, sure, but it gives you a little bit of card advantage to get stuff back in your hand, but there are very few. Whenever I've done the sample drafts, lightsabers are, even though there are some commons, they are still going to be part of draft, and this is in Villainy, so you're going to look at like the 2 common or uncommon Villainy lightsabers. I think it's Inquisitors and Corrupted, I think, are the only 2. It's not worth the rate. It's not worth putting in your deck. Great art, though. Refugee of the Path. It's Heroic, an 0/3, costs 1. When played, you may put a shield token on a unit with Sentinel. Well, there aren't that many, and this card is just bad. Sure, it has Force, and you can generate a Force token off it, but it just 100% is never going to be worth it. The chances of it, there aren't that many Sentinels, and the only reason this card exists is to put a shield token on it. No. Force, sure, you're going to attack with it, do nothing, just to get your Force token. I can see a world in which, because it's a 1-cost, is not truly terrible, but I'm never going to draft this card. Pelimoto, great fun character in The Mandalorian. Sadly, a 1/4 for 2 here that on attack give an experience token to a friendly vehicle or droid. This is not the vehicle set. I mean, there are vehicles. There are some okay ships, nothing spectacular. But there certainly aren't any droids that are worth it. So I can't see anybody drafting a vehicle or droid heavy deck in this set. Go into Hiding, a 2-cost tactic. Choose a unit. It can't be attacked to this phase unless it has Sentinel. Yeah, okay, so it's basically just hidden, but worse. So no, not into it. And then it's worse, which is a 7 cost trick. Defeat a non-leader unit. That goes, of course, with Perilous Predicament, and that's just a bad card, and I'm never going to be drafting it, or this as a 7 cost. Sure, it defeats anything. Well, as non-leader, wow, it's even worse. Such a dreadful piece of removal. Just awful. So, in summary, going back to leaders, I think there are just too many rank 3 leaders in this set. Oh, I'm getting assaulted by a dog. No, down, honey, I'm almost done. Too many rank 3 leaders in this set that just are simply not worth playing. I would like to see that number of bad leaders or unplayable leaders in limited drop in the next set. I mean, there were some in Jump to Lightspeed, but I wouldn't say that they were all terrible and didn't have a place. There are too many in this set that are just absolutely unplayable. I do suspect, in what I've played so far, that Obi-Wan and Mother Talzin may be the best limited leaders in Legends of the Force. They are easy to manage, well statted, not a lot of complicated overhead to play them, fantastic colors. I think, in fact, Command, Vigilance, Heroic may be the strongest aspect combination of what I've played so far. Maintaining the Force tempo is, of course, very important, but it is, even in a limited environment, unless somehow you've completely skewed yourself to draft a lot of creatures, in this particular instance, maintaining the Force is very, very, very simple. So lastly, let me know what you think. I have to wrap this up to keep my dog from destroying everything. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about this draft set, what you're looking forward to, what you think may be strongest, where do you think I went right, where do you think I may have gone wrong. I would love to hear some of your reports when draft kicks up, and it's going to be very soon. So thanks very much for watching, and until next time, sorry to cut it off somewhat short, but happy gaming. Thank you so much for watching Longship Gaming. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It will really help the channel to grow and improve. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when more Longship Gaming content goes live. Until next time, happy gaming.